Welcome to Holding Priority Podcast, the Magic the Gathering CDH podcast. I'm Cardboard Cryptid.
And I'm the Gaming Ghost.
On today's episode, we'll discuss our most recent tournament, the Commander Invitational Qualifier.
It was kind of fun. I enjoyed it. A lot of newer commanders there that I hadn't seen prior to other tournaments.
Yeah. Before we get into it, let's go into the shuffle up. So this is going to be one of the more exciting shuffle ups. We actually did a collab and we can finally talk about it.
Smooth Brain. Love them guys.
Yeah, Smooth Brain EDH. We put the YouTube video into our link tree if you do not know or subscribe to those guys. If you did subscribe to them and you saw us, I hope that was a good surprise for you.
I've watched it like 3 times.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good game.
Yeah, we played them for about, 3 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was it seemed to go by really quick, but when you're having a lot of fun, it just shoots through.
We played them for quite a long time, and it was really crazy to see how well they edited the video down. Like, it was, I think, like 12 minutes at everything said and done.
Yeah. Made us look a lot better than.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
No, it was a really fun game. It was one of those games that, like, even after I watched it, I was just like, oh yeah, here I go. Oh yeah, this is an uncounterable artifact. Well, I'm exiling it. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, I was really close, but not to spoil too much from the content of this episode, but Sisse has some issues, and
Yeah.
I'm getting to that mindset now.
Yeah. If you are a fan of CDH gameplay, please go check them out. They're on our link tree. I shared the video everywhere I could, so if you were in like the Storm Discord or all that stuff, you might have already seen it. But we really want to give them a thank you for having us on their channel. So if you could, please go over, watch it, like, comment, and subscribe. Let them know that Holding Priority sent you. Maybe if they see a lot of comments where we're like sending them over people that are watching them, we could go on again, which would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd love to play those guys again.
Yeah. So for the normal part of the shuffle up, let's read some new comments. We have a new comment by Jade Sushi 1. He says, first, super excited to get the second part finally on our end of year wrap up part 2. That was a long video. We had to split it up into 2 parts. It was a full look back at 2024. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun last year, and as far as Commander and all that.
Yeah, we were just thinking maybe like the other day, what seems like a tournament that was like the start of our CDH career basically was almost a year ago today. So like we've not been doing it as long as it may seem.
It's kind of funny because we didn't really give this year any time to grow either before we're like, next tournament.
Yeah. I want to say I just looked at my top deck, and I know that we did more than this, but I have 11 tournaments under my belt. Like, and that's just things that were on top deck. That's not counting like convention tournaments. I don't think that counts TCG player, or not TCG player, TCG con. Doesn't count Command Fest. I mean, for sure doesn't count Magic Cons.
I mean, we were moving.
Yeah.
And if we stay at this pace now, I mean, we're probably going to have close to that this year.
Yeah. My win rate is 14.6%, which is really bad.
mine's not that great either.
Yeah.
Yours is easy to kind of pinpoint because you use a different deck just about every time. So
my win rate with Balin, I got 10 losses in a weekend because we did the Gusher Crusher and then the skirmish. So I 7 wins, 33 losses, 8 ties, but I do have a top 4 finals and then a complete win for pitch 25, which is really cool.
A lot of top 16s in my
Yeah.
under my belt. Pretty consistent in there somewhere,
Yeah.
but not since the bands,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've only done one real tournament since the ban.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Already plugged our link tree. Please go check it out. Got some stuff on there. Also, we have TCG Player. If you're looking for a easy way to support the podcast that doesn't cost you anything, if you just click that TCG Player link whenever you're going to go buy cards, that lets them know that we sent you. Helps us out a ton on the channel. A lot of you have been doing that. Really helps. Thank you a bunch.
Yeah, for sure. And just a couple of cards is all we need.
Yeah. Please, sir.
Could I please have a card?
And then if you're on Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, we've got all of that on the link tree. I started posting on there again when we had the Smooth Brain collab. So if you guys were like, oh my God, what is this? There's a post. Yeah. Definitely trying to get a little bit more active on those. And then I also did notice that Spotify has comments now. And it was funny because we found the comment, I think 2 episodes ago, 1 episode ago, and I was trying to look for it. I just didn't see it anywhere. And I realized that on the computer, you can't see comments. Only on the mobile app on the phone can you see comments.
So silly.
So if you guys were like, what do you mean comment on Spotify? If you're on the computer, you can't comment. Only on the app, which is kind of weird, but we've had a couple comments from there. Thank you guys so much. I will keep checking them on my phone to see if you guys have left comments, and I'll read those out. And then just a reminder to please like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Or if you're listening to us on podcast, please set us to auto download, follow us, rate us 5 stars. It really helps a bunch. We've kept seeing a bunch of growth in the podcast. Really cool. Really helps us to see all of that stuff. So thank you guys so much.
Oh yeah, thanks a bunch.
All right, let's get into the Commander Invitational Qualifier discussion. You want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun going in. I had a couple of bullet points. Is that some like I wanted answers to questions.
Yeah.
Going in. One question would be, how solid is the fan base of this?
Yeah.
Since the bans?
Yeah.
I will say the turnout was pretty substantial compared to everything before we just go straight into the rounds. But
50 players total.
Yeah. And I mean, there wasn't really any prizing there really for this one. It was just going in and you get a chance.
You get like store credit, but yeah, no one was there for the prize. It was all the reason that this is called a Commander Invitational Qualifier was the winner gets to go to Tennessee, right?
Nashville.
Yep. Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee to compete for a Black Lotus. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was my first question, was how rich is the community? Still pretty strong and growing.
We saw a ton of people. It was interesting because this was not in the normal town that we go to. It was like an hour-ish before. So we saw a lot of people from more local to us and the place that we normally go. I'd say about half the people we knew, maybe. A little under half, but I mean, still really cool.
I had a full pod of people I've played before.
Yeah.
Like out of the 50, we probably knew over half. I would give it over half.
Yeah. Like knew of over half. Like knew on like maybe we'd seen them at more than 2 places, like half for sure.
Yeah. I've noticed that some of the groups, there's like 3 or 4 different groups that go to a lot of these.
Yeah.
And they're like friends from a local thing that go. So like Dragon's Nest guys go, and then Kilgore Dallas
Yeah.
group go. But still pretty rich. People still going out, still doing stuff. And then the biggest question was, what commanders are we gonna see?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Not very many Rogsai, happily. Like,
no,
yeah.
no, not really. Like, I was thinking TNT, which I still seen a lot,
Yeah.
but I also seen like Thrasios Rogsai, which is kind of strange.
I saw at least 5 blue farms.
Yeah, I thought Blue Farm was dead,
Yeah, me
dead in the
too.
water.
Yeah.
Um,
The guy, there was a guy, and I'll go into this a little bit more around, but he had won the previous one the previous weekend, and he had his invitation, but he wanted more top deck points. So he came to this one and he was playing Blue Farm. So we know at least one winner was playing Blue Farm.
yeah, and apparently the guy that kind of went through it, we knew as well.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just go into round one from here.
I wanted to go over the event a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So my current, not really like, I guess complaint would be the best thing with CDH tournaments is like, they're all different. Like, like you never know what you're going to expect. So when we went to the place that we went to, um, they had 40 proxies that you could have in your deck, which I thought was pretty cool. But then when we got there, they handed us a official like sheet, and we had to write down every one of our proxies on that sheet and turn it in. And then another thing is when we got there, we saw that there was like 55 players like signed up, 56. So we thought we were going to have a 5-round tournament. And at the end of the day, maybe like 5 or 6 didn't show up that registered. So there were 50 players, but with 50 players, it was 4 rounds cut to top 10. So the person that was in first and second place automatically went to the final round. And then there were 2 pods of 4, so total 8, that each winner would go to the final round. So it was kind of weird that it was like, okay, 4 rounds, and then we're going to cut 4/5 of the players away and do a top 10.
This has became this is becoming the standard though.
Yeah, I don't like it, but yeah.
It's a little funky. I wish I could say it was just 1 or 2, but it seems like this is in general top deck rules for running through it.
Yeah, maybe I've missed something because it's probably been we probably haven't done a tournament like a top deck tournament since Magic Con, like a big one. I don't think.
I would say even longer than that.
Yeah.
Because in Magic Con we really didn't play too many tournaments.
Yeah.
So I would
like
say
biggest post ban.
Oh no, not post ban. It was pre ban.
Well, pre ban would be before. This would be post ban.
I know. So pre ban. The earliest I remember this happening was pre ban at Nest.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see.
I'm sorry, later.
Yeah.
It was the Houston one.
Yeah.
But no, it seems to be just a way to kind of discourage drawing, and which I don't really see that working that well. There's still
it's worse. Like now, yeah.
But that was the general idea from what I understood.
Yeah. I mean, three rounds just seems like it's kind of a waste of anybody's time to travel to one of those, because it's like in 3 rounds, even if you get 2 wins, you're still not guaranteed to go to top 4, which like feels real bad.
Yeah.
4 rounds wasn't as bad. Like I do feel like I had a chance to get into the top. 5 rounds feels like the right amount. Like at the end of the 5 rounds, I'm like, okay, I'm pretty spent. I do feel like I had a chance to get in. It's very clear that like if I have 12 points, I'm gonna probably get in if there's like, 5 rounds. This one, there was a lot of talk the entire time where they were like, Well, do 10 points get you in? I don't know with how many buys we're having. Like, what about this? And then like the less rounds you have, the more impactful I feel like buys are, to where it's like, oh, that person got a buy. Like they're going to be in top 20, regardless.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily organizers' problem. Like, I think
Hmm.
that's more, you know, go out and support your local tournaments and
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's where it goes.
Yeah, I agree, but also like you would think with 50 players that would be enough. Like that's a pretty big tournament, and we still
Yeah.
got 4 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I was under the impression that 60-ish got you to 5,
Yeah.
but and this is just me remembering because we have a mutual friend that's judged a lot of these
Yeah,
tournaments,
yeah.
and he talks about that type of stuff a lot. So
Yeah. If this is a new top deck rule or something and we just completely missed it, let us know, and we might just do a podcast on it if it's enough information.
yeah, especially if you're trying to dip into it,
Yeah.
because this is kind of fluent. There's a lot of things moving. There's a lot of pieces going around, um, and certain things change a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
I would say the house rules is one of my most frustrating
Yeah. Yeah, I
things.
was literally about to go in that.
This is what you're talking about is more structure of the tournament.
Yeah.
This isn't like, well, this judge has this rule.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll go ahead
Yeah,
with
yeah.
it. So in this tournament we went to, if the rule was if you were to get eliminated, you could not talk.
Yeah.
Um,
The expectation was kind of just you got up from your seat, and if you wanted to spectate you could, but you were no longer in the game.
yeah, you were a passerby, so to
Yeah.
speak, and any influence on the game, you could be disqualified,
Yeah. You would get a
which
game loss.
which is insane.
Yeah.
Because if I am, it may not sound that crazy to the listener at first, but let's say I get eliminated, I could still draw the game.
Yeah.
Like if the other players decide to draw, I equally get a draw.
Well, so you did get a draw. If so, the whole thing was when you died, you became a spectator. If everybody at the table decided to draw, you would still get a draw, but you had no say if you accepted it. So like let's say um you're playing and they beat you, and then they kind of look at everything and they go, okay, we all kind of like spent everything we could to kill this person. They're out of the game. Do any of us have any resources left to win? No. Okay, we're just going to tie. And like why someone that is out of the game wouldn't want to tie is like, you're always going to go like, oh, okay, well, instead of getting 0 points, I'd rather get 1 point.
Yeah.
But you are not allowed to take part in that discussion. You are not allowed to say like, no, like you guys keep going. Yeah, like you had no say in the conversation, which was just strange. Like I kind of get it, because like if you're knocked out and everybody's like, hey, I want to tie, and you're just like, no, I want to make these people's life miserable out of spite, I don't want to tie. you know
Well, I think also the underline with it was, what if I'm wasting time?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I draw out the game and then, oh no, it ties. I don't really think that happens naturally, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out of the game, like no one's really gonna stop game actions to listen to you.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, like the my biggest problem with people holding the game up is they currently have priorities, so they're currently holding the game, and then they're not making game actions. Like you don't have any game actions to make anymore because you're dead. So I don't know. I feel like you should be able to talk, and like that's how the rule is. Like you're still somewhat in the game, and everybody can ask you to be like, hey, it's my turn, you're not in the game anymore, like please be quiet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you would still have like the ability to like politic and interact a little bit more. So you were wanting to go into your round one?
Yep. So my round one, I was first seat, and then second player was Tivit, Seller of Secrets, and then it was TNT, which is Thrasios Timna, and then that Thrasios Rogsai. I wasn't.
Oh yeah, yeah.
To me, that's strange. I've never seen that before, so I didn't really know what to do with that one. Um, this game was kind of stacked out from the start. Like, I was kind of presenting, but they didn't really know what Sisse did,
Yeah.
and ultimately, I kind of played the pieces backwards. So I got Tyvar out, and then I got um, I think it was Fabro, which was a little backwards, but ends up giving me pretty much two Sisse triggers, which is pretty much a win.
Yeah.
With Sisse in general.
I mean, if you have 3 colors with Sase too at that point, like
Yeah, it was a kind of a fight though, because they all started to pull my stuff up, and it got to the point where they were like, well, what does this card do? What does this card do? And they were like looking through each one, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna tell you all of my cards, man. Like,
yeah,
you're more than
you're
welcome
allowed to
to.
read it,
Yeah,
but yeah.
you're welcome to read it. I'll read it for you, but I'm not gonna tell you what piece I'm gonna win with.
Yeah.
But
It's like, hey, what can we swords that would stop you right now? Could you tell me?
yeah,
Like,
please tell me that one.
yeah.
I was like, no. They ended up like picking up my Fabro, but since I had Tyvar, I was able to recast barely and then go into Sisse triggers again, which ultimately ended up winning it. The Tivit player got pretty stuck most of the game. Didn't really have a board state very much at all. The TNT was getting a lot of value, like getting the draws, putting some stuff here and there, but no real present. And this Thrasios Rogsai pulled out a Seedborn Muse, and I was like, guys,
Yeah.
we can't do this.
Was
Like, I
it
get
polymorph or just normal?
what.
The Thrasrog side, was it polymorph or just like
No, like I said, it was a strength, like it was a value deck. Like, he was in there. Seaborn Muse, a couple of stacks pieces that were a little weird. And then he kept Thrasios triggering, but just wasn't really getting anywhere.
yeah, if you're spending 4 to Thrasios trigger over and over, like that's pretty expensive.
Well, I mean, with the Seedborn,
Yeah.
he had 2 turns of a Seedborn, so
Yeah.
it was like pretty substantial as far as what he was getting.
Yeah, I mean if they're free, but yeah.
But ultimately, that ended up how I won, was tutoring Sisse into the ground, and then presenting with infinite mana or infinite blinks with Planeswalker Way and Ren 6 to just ping the table out. But there was like I think there was 3 one rings that happened there.
Yeah.
And just, it was crazy. But round 1, win for Ghost.
So right before we were looking at the pairings, I literally saw Ghost's name and my name right next to each other, and I was like, oh no, we're at the same table. I was seat 4 at table 4, I think, and he was seat 1 at table 5. So like we were like just like a hair away from going against each other, which like I'm sick of playing this dude. So I was really glad that I didn't do that. My round one was pretty interesting. So all three of my opponents, they were a group of friends that play each other all the time. They were like joking how it was like their pot at home, minus like me. And it was Thrasios Vile Smasher, somebody on Blue Farm that had like every serialized card in their deck that they could. He had actually won the last event. Somebody that was playing Jacob Hawken Inspector, which is a mono blue commander. And then me on TNT seat 4. So I was like, oh, round 1 seat 4. Um, I'm not winning this, you know. So I was in 4th seat, went down to 6 with my mulligan because I was trying to find like something to bring me up to where I kind of felt like I had a chance. When I went down to 6, I had a pregame where I had like a land, and then I saw Dranith and another land in my hand. So I was like, I can get out Dranith turn 1. That's really good against Blue Farm, like everything Blue Farm's trying to do. Really good against Thas File Smasher. Jacob Hawken, no idea, but I know that monocolor commanders pretty much require their commander to come out. So I was like, this might get me a tie. And like, unfortunately, looking at this pod, that's the best I'm going to have unless I like just kind of happen into some really quick, easy combo that goes through. Seat 1, turn 2, immediately like tried to slam a Ristic Study to deal with the Dranith, and I was just like, I think I'm gonna have to actually force of will. And I force of willed it, and he was just like, "Whoa!" Like force of will on a Ristic Study, and I was like, "You're seat 1 on a Ristic Study." Like unfortunately, I think this is the right call. Like, sorry.
Mm.
And then we played a little bit longer. Seat 3 ended up playing a Narset. And after that Narset, we kind of all scrambled to get back control. Like, I was kind of trying to get in some Thrasios triggers, but I mean, when you're paying 4 for the Thrasios trigger, and you know, you either get a land or you draw once and then you're done for that person's turn, was pretty difficult. There was a couple times that I could remove the Narset, and I was just like, well, I'm not winning this game, you know, with what's in my hand. So I'm not removing it. Like, it hurts the other people worse. Like, if they want to get rid of it, they need to get rid of it. And I kept my Dranith on the table. They had tried to clone my Dranith a couple times, and then I got Thrasios and Timna out. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm kind of getting some value because I'm the only one that has commanders. But I mean, it was against Blue Farm. It was pretty hard to stay competing. So I was just like, round 1, seat 4, if that ends in a tie, like that's pretty good. The person that was on Jacob Hawken, it was just mono blue. I didn't really know what they were doing. They said, you're never going to see another Jacob Hawken. And he was like maintaining a threat being mono blue with no commander. Like, there was a lot of times where I was just like, oh, he just played a high tide. I'm pretty sure he's going to just like play his entire hand and combo out and win. Uh, so he got a couple of my counter spells, which I was surprised. I didn't think it was going to really be mono blue unless it's like just a really, really strong commander. Like, not usually too afraid of it. And then even then, if they can't get their commander out, like kind of a free seat. The one thing that I wasn't really paying attention to was the guy that was on Jacob Harton. He was writing his life total on pencil and paper, like really far away from me, so I couldn't see his life. And then on the last turn, I was trying to get like as much value as I could before I passed because I knew I wasn't going to get another turn. And I hit him with Timna, and I didn't know that he was at 3 life. And there was a Bowmaster, so the 2 life from Timna, and then the Bowmaster ping killed him. And I just, you know, wouldn't think that mono blue deck would be spiking their life down, but he was using Ancient Tomb quite a bit. So I was just like, okay, my bad. I didn't I saw that you were writing like two numbers for your life total, and I really should have asked, but he wrote 03, and I thought it was like 13.
Mm.
But on my last turn, I was pretty much just, I'm gonna be happy with a tie. It looks like Blue Farm's pretty flush. He had lifted up the Narset, and I had the new Squirrel from Bloombarrow that when it ETBs, it creates a food out of anything from the graveyard. And Blue Farm, who I was pretty much the most worried about, had a Ranger Captain in the graveyard. So tried to turn my food into a Ranger Captain. Guy saw that I was going to mess his win up, so he deflecting swatted to something else that just didn't mean anything. Like I think it was a land. And then I played a Fluster Storm to try to keep it, and then he hit my Fluster Storm with another Fluster Storm. And I was just, too one mana short to pay, so it ended up getting countered. And of course, past Thrasovile Smasher, they couldn't really do anything. They were also kind of trying to stop Blue Farm. And then when it got to Blue Farm, he had like 3 minutes left and just, dropped down a Grand Abolisher, and from there was able to win. Removed my Dranith so that they could Underworld Breach to win. I was just like, oh damn, like, they won in overtime because it was their turn whenever time went out. I was just like, oh man, I'm gonna play this entire round, timeout, and I have to rush to my second round. And spoiler alert, it was a bye, so I got to still have a break between. But I'll pass to Ghost for his round 2.
So my round 2, I was pretty excited about this one, man. So I get to my round 2. I'm on a high of a win. I'm like, this is gonna be great. I was seat 4. I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, that's rough. So I get in, and it's Thrasios, Rogsai again, Glarb, which it's such a cool deck,
Yeah.
and then Najila, and I'm Sisse.
Yeah. That's tough.
So I kept a hand that I probably shouldn't have, but ultimately I was able to Gemstone Caverns. And then if I had another mana, I was cooking. Like I was able to, put out a mana rock, do a bunch of stuff. Just never got my land. Not until like turn 4.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. So Thrasios Rogsai, he starts amassing major value. So just early Thrasios, couple of mana rocks, just gunning. Glarb goes out, just starts. Well, Glarb doesn't come onto the field, but the player starts putting out multiple value engines, mana rocks. Najila gets an early Najila. I don't remember if it was turn 2 or 3. It was early.
Yeah.
And of course, swings at me.
Yeah.
And I think I got a some creature, and I want to say it was either a I can't remember if cause I had an Esper Sentinel and a Lotho, but the guy in first seat was like, you should block it. And I was like, I'm not. Like, I am hoping and praying to get mana. And y'all are casting one spell and just passing. Like,
yeah.
this is bad. I could kill this thing. Not really going to bother me too much.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I want y'all to
you guys figure it out. Yeah.
And I want to say one of them dropped a Mystic Remora and was just flush.
Yeah.
I was like, you deal with it, man.
Yeah.
We get around, we kind of dwindle that way for a while where I'm pretty much out of this game, praying to get Sisse and just try to Sisse trigger and go for broke. But I want to say Glarb dropped a Grand Abolisher and hit a Doomsday. And I was like,
Glarb dropped a Grand Abolisher?
maybe it wasn't.
Or like copied one?
No, it wasn't a Grand.
Was it Dosan? Because it's black, blue, green.
No, he didn't have a Grand Abolisher. It was a One Ring. They were copying One Rings around. I was like, we couldn't target him with anything at the moment.
Yeah.
And just I seen so many One Rings this tournament.
Oh, same. Yeah.
Like, I want to say one of the guys dropped a One Ring, and then the other two copied it.
Yeah. One Ring Minamo is like huge.
Yeah. But anyway, he ended up, Glarb ended up winning. And I remember thinking to myself that I have a Force of Will and a Mind Break trap that I could try to get it out. But once Doomsday hit, like, there was nothing that could happen.
Side note, what a great card.
Yeah. It was so crazy because you think that somebody that's going to Thassa out, because he revealed Thassa at some point.
Yeah.
But to reveal a Thassa and think to yourself normally that there's going to be a tainted pack or a what you call it, a consultation is not needed.
Yeah.
It's not needed at all. So what he ended up doing is he Doomsdayed and used Glarb to counter or to play free spells from the top, and then just dwindle his card total so that with Glarb on the field, he only needed 3 cards in grave.
Yeah.
Or in deck.
Yeah.
But it was such a crazy win that afterwards I was like, man, I wanted to build that deck so bad. He was like, well, I could give you the deck list. I was like, please.
What was the name of the deck list? I remember I really liked it.
It was like Glarb on my knob.
Glarb on my narb.
Until I croak.
Yeah. Glarb on my narb till I croak. Which, if the children are listening to this, is a COVID reference. Yeah. So it's a disease.
That's why you wear your masks.
Yep. And listen to your parents and get good grades.
But no, it was just a crazy deck. Like, the win line was so weird. The fact that he was able to look at the top card all the time was interesting.
Yeah.
The Thrasios Rogsai was, it seems to be like a quick flame. Like, it does a lot at first and then kind of has trouble in mid.
Yeah.
But it's weird because Thrasios is like a mid-range commander, in my opinion. So I don't really know exactly what that deck is supposed to do, but
I played a polymorph version of it, and that was fun. But it was very easy. Like, you just look at it and go, "Oh, he's gonna try to polymorph Rog. Like, we should all stop this." And I'd be like, "Oh, dang. Okay, well, I'm not doing anything the rest of the game." Like,
I think they were using Rogsai to do the free spells.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, because there's only really like
Jessica's Will.
Yeah, well, maybe
Fierce
3 or 4
Guardianship.
max.
That's about it. Yeah.
And he doesn't really do anything but just kind of sit on the field.
Yeah. That's why I like the polymorph, because it was like you'd play the 0 and then he had a purpose, because you would polymorph him into Hullbreaker or like Tide Spout. My round 2 was pretty cool. I got some beef jerky, got some animal crackers. I went outside, saw some pretty rocks, put a couple in my pocket, took a poop. That was it. Pretty cool. I will go into my round three. So my round three was Blue Farm, Seat One, TNT, me. Oh, I didn't even say what deck I was on. I was on Timna Kodama, or not Timna Kodama anymore. Timna Thrasios. I got so
TNT.
used to saying Timna Kodama. Yep. So I went the not the easy route. It's a little bit different. It's more of a enchantment based where I just try to get infinite mana as quickly as possible. I'm not too sure if that's the best way to do it. I'll kind of do like a summary at the end, but I had a lot of fun with it. So it was Blue Farm, me on Tim Thrasios, Crick third, and then Nico Bolas the Ravager on seat four, which that's a one colorless or one generic, blue, black, red. Um, Basically, when Nico Bolas enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card, flips into a planeswalker. I'm not too sure why you'd play this over any other commander in the same colors outside of just you like it. Didn't really see it do much other than just counters and Ristic study. We're all kind of in a weird situation though. So Blue Farm and me, we were pretty set up pretty quickly. Blue Farm looked at my deck and was just like, I better amass value. Like I'm in seat one. I've got a lot more draw than this guy probably has. He's probably relying on Thrasios stuff. So I got a pretty early Smothering Tie. Then he was just like, yeah, you get every single treasure you want. I'm going to draw every single time. And it kind of got to the point that it was, well, every time he draws, I need 4 mana to match his 1 draw with Smothering Tie. So he outvalued me pretty quick. And then poor Crick, like, I never really feel bad for somebody in a tournament, but this dude was like sitting there and he was clearly really good with the deck, like very efficient, was really getting his lines out really quickly. Like I could tell that he was pivoting quite a bit. And he just was watching us like fly by him. Like it reminded me of Talladega Nights whenever Ricky Bobby gets back in his car and he's like, what are those things going so fast? Are those cars? like he was just like, he played 2 turns and was just like, I'm done with this game. And unfortunately, I Thrasios triggered and revealed an op agent, and I just made sure I kept mana up for the op agent based on just everything that was going on. So he knew he was just done. We probably went like 5 turns and Blue Farm got to the point where they put down a Grand Abolisher, and I was just like, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna drop an op agent. I have an ace up my sleeve that I really don't want to use. You know, dude on Nico Bolas, if I drop an op agent, is that gonna stop you from looking for an answer for Blue Farm? And he went, nah, go ahead and drop it. So I dropped it. The guy on Nico Bolas entombed and gave Blue Farm their Esper Sentinel draw, their Ristic Study, and their Mystic Remora draws, and then entombed a Final Fortune into their graveyard. And I was like, okay, you're clearly not going to be any more help. You're just you're trying to get me to stop them so that you can try to sneak in a win. Because I mean, Crick is out of this, and I was just like, well, yeah, that's. I really wish you would have done that and give him 3 more cards, but we resolved back down to the Grand Abolisher, and I was like, I can demonic consultation for a silence. That's really all I have. Like, clearly we're losing right here. I really don't want a consultation just to stop somebody and not really have. I had like a counter I could defend it with, but this guy had like 20 cards in hand, so he was not worried about a silence. But I was just like, I'll just go ahead. Maybe Nico Bolas has something up their sleeve. Like, I don't know. Consultation for a silence. I lost 75% of my deck. I went so deep. I was like, did I just forget a silence in my deck list? Like, no way did I make a deck in white and not have a silence. uh Literally saw every single one of my win cons on the way down, and I was just like, I just really I don't want to cast this. Like, I looked at the Nico Bolas player and I was like, do you have anything to defend the silence if I cast it? And he was like, no. And I was just like, I'm not even going to cast it then. Like, clearly with 20 cards in hand, Blue Farm has quite a few counters to like stop my silence. He showed me his hand after, and he was like, yeah, I was flush. I had like 4 silences. Like, and they ended up just not Flusterstorm, brain freezing themselves down to Thassa for a win. So, really, really easy. We almost went to time on that one, but that one ended up in a loss for me. But it was crazy to see like what I thought was a pretty good contender in Crick just like get completely blown out of the water, even with a skillful player, just because there was just so much value. And I don't know if it was just this group, but the word of the day, like if this was like Pee Wee Herman, word of the day, value, like one ring, draws, smothering tithe, like they were everywhere. We had 3 Ristic studies on the field at one point. Like it was insane. Like,
I've added multiple draw engines to the deck I'm gonna start playing soon. But it was because of all of this.
Yeah, it was insane.
Were you done with your
yeah, I was done with round 3.
So my round 3, I was 3rd seat. I believe I was 3rd seat here, and I was going up against 3 different Croms, 2 different Blue Farms. So the other Crom was like Crom and some black
Rayan, last
Rayan.
of the Asban.
Yeah,
he was in my round 4. That's fine.
that guy. And when I sat down, I became public enemy number 1. And he started off by saying, "Have you ever seen?" I played Sisse a lot. This deck is it's crazy, and I'm like looking at the decks that are on the table other than his, and being like, these are Blue Farm, man. Matter of fact, throughout this whole endeavor, I called round 3. I was public enemy. I presented twice. Was about to run away with the game, and we got to a point where I looked at the non-Blue Farm player, and I said, you can stop me constantly. I'm okay with this, I guess. But at what point are we going to try and do anything about the 15 cards in Blue Farm's hands? Because I'm not casting anything.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I agree. That's a problem. I was like,
thanks. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So, I started out pretty solid, and the non-Blue Farm player put out I don't remember what the card is, but it's the mono black Ragavan.
Oh yeah.
Just crazy.
Yeah, 3 generic black, and gives 1 thing death touch, and then also like whenever it hits, your card is exiled face down and they get a treasure.
Well, it's anytime a player is hit. So
yeah.
If you hit 3 players, you get 3 cards.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think she was like 70 whenever that Jumpstart set found out. First came out. I think she went down to 30, but like She's a contender. Like,
He hits me, pulls a Ragavan from my deck. And I'm like, oh no, there's no way. There's no way I'm gonna give you 2 cards out of my deck every time you hit me with Ragavan. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way. So I Otawara it back to my hand and then play it so that I have a legendary creature.
Yeah.
And yes, that probably wasn't the best use of 4 mana to try to Otawara a creature from another field back to my hand to play. But forget that. Like, didn't want him to keep going.
Every time I did a Thrasios trigger that day, I would see I would reveal an Otawara as my second card that I looked at. And I'd be like, heck yeah. And I'd try to put it to my hand, and everybody'd be like, no, 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 it's a land. And I'm like, oh yeah, it goes on the battlefield.
Yeah, we got there. Like, I stopped multiple occurrences of shenanigans. There was one point where both Blue Farm players were just decimating my field.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody hit me with a Swords to Plowshare. The other person was trying to pyroblast one of my
Yeah.
creatures. Like, just I'm looking at my field and going like, what are we doing?
Yeah. You guys don't want me to throw in during like when other people are trying to win cool. Like,
I was like, I get that Sisay triggers is bad, but Urtai is a part of my deck.
yeah.
Like, and if I can't Sisay trigger, I'm not going to be able to put an Urtai. But
Urtai costs like 4 though, right?
yeah, but I could Sisay trigger, so it's 5 to get it out.
But I mean, if you're going and getting a 4 cost, at that point, I'm just kind of like, nah, you don't get to tutor anymore.
Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But not if I don't have a mana generator. So like if I'm hard casting or hard tutoring without a like a mana dork, it's a little different.
Mm,
The point I was having was that I wasn't able to tutor twice,
yeah.
and I couldn't get through. Now if they would have just let me have the turn, and I wouldn't even like on the end step I would have tutored something and then would have tutored something on.
Yeah.
I'd have been okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, we went through this struggle for this game almost went to time. It did go to time.
Yeah.
But again, just decimated my field for no reason. Like,
yeah. I will say Sisay going and getting a 4 cut, like it's a really hard sell for Sisay to be like, hey, just
I
what
wasn't.
I can do is I can go get a 4 cut. So like, no. Like,
Well, I had mana to tutor, and when
Yeah.
I passed like one of the last few turns, I had held up priority for something, and I was like, I don't care if you get that.
yeah,
And the other guy was like, well, you're going to try to Urtai. And I was like, yep,
I could.
that was
Yeah.
my goal. And then the other guy, so the next guy in rotation at the end of the turn wanted to overload a Psych Rift. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I am already dead in the water here.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to let you, which in retrospect, it probably should have, but I think he would have won his turn.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's better to stop it then and get the chance on the other person.
So after my turn, or that turn I got, it went to the other Blue Farm player, and on my end step, he like rollicked or something my Sisay, and I was like, well, this is normal. This
Yeah.
has been happening the whole time.
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to try to win.
Yeah.
And I had to tutor for an Agatha's because I didn't have any legendaries.
Yeah.
Or I only had like 1 or 2. But
I'll pretty much let you tutor for 2, and then 3 or higher. No, like shame on you. Like,
well, he ended up. It was such a crazy win that he tried to Underworld Breach.
What this was Blue Farm?
Yeah, this is
Okay,
the blue
cool.
farm.
Yeah.
He tried to breach.
Oh, that's the one I went to in round 1 or somebody else.
They were both there. So it was the
Okay,
guy
yeah.
with all of the serialized that
Yeah.
had already gotten
Yeah, him.
yeah, he was there, and then this other guy that was also on Blue Farm, uh, which ended up winning.
Yeah.
He deserved it, I guess. We broke through his breach line. Then he cast Memnonic and went through it that way and just tossed it out. But we were like 5 minutes after time when it happened.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this deck. But it was crazy to me that Blue Farm is still a contender
Yeah.
after the ban, because I thought it was pretty much dead.
Yeah, I mean Crom is a command zone princess now, but
Oh no, he was summoned with all of them.
I never saw it
It was
in my
crazy.
2 rounds.
But yeah, after that one, uh, I have a new respect for Blue Farm,
Yeah.
and realistically, what I'm seeing is that the value, it's every little thing you do. You know, it's an Esper Sentinel and a Mystic Remora, or something like
Yeah.
that, to where it's like, you know, pay 1, pay 4.
Yeah.
Can you pay 1? No? Okay, well I'm gonna draw. But yeah, that one was a pretty rough game.
My 4th round, finally I was seat 1. And I'm like, all right, I got to buy. I can win this. And with 10 points, I can get in the top 10. So like I'm feeling pretty good about this. Like maybe I have a top 10 coming to me. Spoiler, 10 points didn't get you in a top 10. It had to be 12 or more, which is like crazy. I think like maybe 111 got in. But yeah, I mean, if you didn't have a favorable result in every round, you pretty much just weren't going. So seat 1, me, Tim Thrasios, Crom Rayhan from your last round was seat 2. Kenrith, which was one of the people that usually judges our events, he was seat 3. And then a guy that I'd played on Tivit before, I don't know what event, but he looked familiar. So it was like everybody I was pretty comfortable with as far as like people that I knew. And they were all like contenders, like the Crom Rayhan, he'd won an event. The guy in Kenrith, Judge knows how to play the game. He'd won an event before. The Tivit guy, I'd seen him playing Tivit before somewhere. I think he was local, but maybe it was like, I think he brought up TCG Con or something like that. But I specifically had remembered that he was on Tivit. So I was like, okay, like I'm seat 1, but this is going to be like a pretty sweaty round. I think I keep what I think is a pretty good hand. So I have Thassa, Tainted Pact, a Mana Dork, Ranger Captain, and Eldritch Evolution. So I'm like, I've got a pretty favorable result here, I think. So turn 1, drop the Mana Dork, drop a land, pass. Turn 2, drop Ranger Captain, to go get an Esper Sentinel, because I'm like, I need the draw. The moment I drop a turn 2 Ranger Captain, everybody's just like, whoa, let's decimate his field. Which, like, to be fair, I would have probably gotten a silenced win turn 4 if they hadn't. But my hand, like, I didn't have any value pieces on board. And that's why I was trying to say was like, hey, the Ranger Captain let me go get an Esper Sentinel. Like, if I'm getting an Esper Sentinel, how ahead do you guys think I am? So guy in Crom Rayhan plays a Bowmasters. Guy in Kenrith, or no, he played a Bowmaster. He got a really early 1 ring out. Kenrith plays a Bowmaster and then Tivit plays an imposter mech and also gets a bowmaster. And everybody's letting Crom Rayhan draw. And like at the end of the game, he got up to 6 on his one ring. So that's like 1 draw, 2 draw, 3 draw, 4 draw, 5 draw, 6 draw. So he drew a lot of cards. And they just decimated my field to where I didn't have any black on my side of the field at all. I just had white, green, white, blue, and that was it. Like through a couple lands, it gets to the point that clearly Crom Rayhan and Kenrith are way far away because they've just been blowing my board like over and over. And there's been a lot of draws. Tivit's pretty behind, which is bad for Tivit because Tivit needs to get a pretty big commander out. So it's like you're behind, you can't even get your commander out. We've got Kenrith who just like blows up, and Rayhan, which like, you know, it's 4 colors and he's got like 20 cards. And, you know, so the entire time I'm just like, hey, you know, like, I know you guys want to just mess up my board because I'm seat 1 and I'm on TNT, but like we really need to watch out for seat 2. And of course it gets to the point where seat 2 is just like, yeah, I'm pushing. And the bowmasters are getting like way out of control. Somebody had a 15/15 bowmaster token and they didn't even have control of a like bowmaster the entire time. Tivit is just like, I really should have not sided with these 2 guys. Like I'm not doing anything anymore. Like and I get to the point where I'm just like, my board, I'm so behind. I have enough mana to do Thassa Tainted Pact. I really don't think I'm going to get it through with a Crom Rayhan with like 12 cards, a Kenrith, and a Tivit on the board, but I have Enduring Vitality, I think, out. So like worst case scenario, I drop a Thassa and it just becomes an Arcane Signet on my next turn. So I am like, I'm gonna go for it. If you guys got a counter, you guys got a counter. Like, you guys have put me into a situation where I'm just, this is my only out. So I drop Thassa's Oracle. It resolves, and everybody's like, do not drop Tainted Pact. Do not drop Tainted Pact. And I'm just like, well, you telling me that I shouldn't makes me really think I should do it. So I drop it, and Crom Rayhan has to drop a Flusterstorm to stop me. So I'm just like, okay, like I did get stopped. This isn't so bad though, because I'm looking like 3 cards down, which isn't too bad. And also because I have the Enduring Vitality out, I have a Arcane Signet, you know, next turn if it survives the like Bowmasters. And we ended up counting after the game, because this is my last turn. I don't get another turn, so I was glad that I jammed it. But we ended up counting, and there were 6 different instances of Bowmaster cast that game. There was a Imposter Mech, which like Imposter Mech was MVP. Like, you know, like
It's a good card.
yeah, copying a Bowmaster to where a Bowmaster can't target you and kill you is really good, because you basically guarantee that you have control of the Bowmaster, or you're okay with someone else having a Bowmaster, and then there's 2 Bowmasters, which was insane, especially with the One Ring. Crom Rayhan, ton of cards in hand at this point. Taps their One Ring to draw 6. Has almost 20 cards in hand, and of course is going to push. Kenrith, Tivit look at me and they're like, can you stop him? And I'm just like, no. Like, I desperation toss it out just to have a chance. You know, like, you guys decimated my board so hard. Like, there's nothing I can do to help. And during his turn, there's a lot of discussion and politicking, to the point where I'm like, I feel like we've been talking, like just sitting here talking for 30 minutes. And I look back and the timer's on 15 minutes, and I'm just like, guys, like we've got to move it around. Like people need to start taking game actions. A tie does not get any of us in top 10. So like someone from here needs to win. I don't think it's going to be me, but like we need to stop talking and start doing. Crom Rayhan really pushes, eats a lot of counters. Tivit and Kenrith kind of do what they can do. I do have a Deadly Rollick in hand just in case something needs to happen, but I'm pretty sure I need to use it on Kenrith because Kenrith has a Grand Abolisher on the field. And I'm like, well, I know that Kenrith thinks that we're going to take care of it with Bowmaster, but Kenrith can revive as an ability. So he can just revive a silence to field where we can't even counter it. So, or interact with it. So I talked to Tivit. We do stop Crom Rayhan. I talked to Tivit. I'm like, hey, on his end step, like, I need you to take out these key pieces and I need to exile the Grand Abolisher so he can't just revive a silence to field. Like, can we work and do that? I'm playing for a tie. It's not even going to get back to me at this point. Like, if you've got it, you've got it. But Kenrith is way too far gone at this point. We need to try to stop him. And we end up stopping him. He passes. Tivit gets their turn. They're so far behind that they're like, yeah, this is a tie. Like, I've got 30 seconds left. I've got some stuff I'm going to do, but like, it's a tie. So we all got a tie. I ended with 6 points. I was 18 out of 50, but you know, not top 10. So went home after that. How was your round 4?
Oh man. So, have you ever played a game to where it has a mini game in it
Yeah.
and you're like, I really like this game. Oh, there's a mini game. Well, it's like that except for my whole round was a mini game.
Yeah.
So, I was seat 4, but seat 1 was Master Transcendent. Seat 2 was Slicer. Seat 3 was Timna Thras, and then of course me on Sisse.
And you had a win at that point. So that pretty much everybody at that probably had a win.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we start the game, and it starts like every other Commander game with a gleam in your eye, and you're trying to play. And kudos to this not Sisse player.
Yeah,
That would be me.
Slicer. Yeah.
This Slicer player, because I've seen him at 3 other events.
Yeah.
And this is the deck he loves to play.
Yeah.
But goddamn, gosh darn.
Yeah. Gosh darn.
So we're playing. He casts his Slicer, and it becomes the mini game of who do we swing at? Because we all want to stay alive to try to deal with Slicer.
Yeah.
So it's, you swing at me, this person swings at this person swings at this person. You drop a 1 ring, we all swing at you, type of move.
I mean, honestly, I almost would have let Master Transcendent rush a food chain just to stop the Slicer.
He did.
Yeah.
So he rushed food chain, but we countered it because he was about to win.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, then he's like, well, I can't, I'm kind of stuck in the water now. Because he like consultation or tainted. He did whatever he was getting to.
Yeah. If you hit the Griffin through a tainted or consultation, it's pretty bad because you can cast the Griffin from exile, so you have both pieces. But if he didn't hit the Griffin, I mean, I don't really know because then it could be in his hand. Yeah.
Oh, we're not done.
Yeah.
So he tries. Slicer gets another turn. He Magus of the Moons.
Heck yeah.
So now, no lands.
Yeah.
No lands.
Well, you have lands. They're mountains.
I had 2 lands, which were mountains, and then one lotus petal, which was my only other source of color. And I'm like, well, guys, I have I have a counter, but I don't want to. I'd rather not cast it on you guys. Like, I'd rather wait and try to cast it on something else. I actually tried to Swan Magus, thinking it was Blood Moon,
Oh yeah.
but it wasn't. It was a
Yeah.
creature, so that didn't work. So we continue this madness. So we keep going. Thrasios, Timna, he has Lotho, and Lotho is getting him his color sources, unlike mine did in
Yeah.
previous games. So he's getting, 2 colored mana a turn, or a rotation, which is decent for him.
Yeah.
And Master Transcendent is just kind of stuck, and I am waiting to break out of this prison I'm in. So it goes from Thrasios, Timna, to me, to Transcendent, back to Slicer, where we attack Transcendent because he has a 1 ring, and then Timna drops a 1 ring. So they were going back and forth just to keep us going.
Yeah.
Slicer drops a cursed totem. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm dead. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way to win this here. Well, as we're doing this rotation, they were using Bowmaster pings to kind of keep Slicer in check because the 1 rings. Well, once Thrasios, Timna, once TNT got a orc army of like 7 or 5, he goes, well, I'm going to swing Slicer at Sisse. And I was like everybody on the table was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and kill Sisse. I was like, all right. So I die there. They continue. Now Transcendent and Slicer have teamed up because they're like, we've got to do something about this guy.
Yeah.
It goes around quite a few times, and I want to say Slicer drops something, possibilities, something to where now you cast a spell and then you flip cards off of the top until you.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but whatever spell you cast is no longer what you cast.
It's basically you get a free chaos warp every time you cast a
Yeah.
spell. Yeah.
So it was like, I cast a spell, flip. Now I'm summoning Simian Spirit Guide. Yeah, like, is initially what happened.
We played a game at a card shop with that, and I remember I was just like, why? Like, what?
Oh no, this is a tournament.
Yeah, I know.
I'm looking around and I'm like, what am I playing? Like, I'm looking at you across the thing and I'm like, this guy, look at the gleam in his eye, not knowing that you tied. But I was just like, I'm sitting over here and this is miserable.
Possibility Storm.
Possibility.
It's a 3 generic red enchantment. Whenever a player casts a spell from his or her hand, that player exiles it, then exiles cards from the top of his or her library until he or she exiles a card that shares a card type with it. That player may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then he or she puts all cards exiled with Possibility Storm on the bottom of his or her library in a random order. Yeah, that was miserable. I remember that one specifically.
It was such a bad game that after other people had played and were kind of walking around, like, they would walk by and like look at the board state and just go, huh.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So just to fast forward, Transcendent gets knocked out of the game, and it's just Slicer and TNT. And TNT has now gotten the strategy of I'm going to rush this guy,
Yeah.
which fair, I guess, but possibility is it possibility storm?
Yeah.
Possibility storm
Takes a while.
is a card that wastes time.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. It just takes more time than
Yeah.
normal. And I was like, man, if I was you, I would have just, because I talked to him after. And ultimately, what he did is he rushed the guy down and then killed him.
Yeah.
But if it was me, I told him, I was like, you're already here, man. You're playing Slicer. You're playing Blood Moon. Like, if this is what you want and you have a lot of fun with it, lean into it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, take your time and go through this possibility. Don't take 20 minutes, but if you take 15 seconds that you needed to end the turn or end the game on your turn, that's all you needed. Like, he shouldn't have rushed you through 2 turns. That's not right. But I ended up losing that one. And then sad day, pretty much. I had a lot of fun though.
Instead of Possibility Storm, because I play Red Prison Slicer, he should be playing Planar Chaos. So that's 2 generic and a red enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, sacrifice Planar Chaos. Whenever a player plays a spell, that player flips a coin. If he or she loses the flip, counter that spell. So that's what I play instead, because it's 2 less, and you can play Planar Chaos and like, what are you casting in Slicer? Nothing. Like once you've got Slicer out, you're just like, I'm just attacking. Like maybe I'll play like a equipment or maybe like a couple of buff spells, but if like they don't go through, I don't really care. Like most of the time you're spending at that point in the game, you're spending mana on equipping Slicer. So you're like Possibility Storm. Half of you guys' stuff is countered. I don't know what half, but I hope it's the good half.
Well, I mean, sitting down at the table, I feel like the carnival games came out, like the carnival music just started. There was like cotton candy, one of them was eating, and it was like, we're going to the mini games.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
But it was an interesting last game. I wish it would have been more tactical and not so much, make Slicer the bad guy.
Yeah.
But it was nuts.
Yeah.
But all in all, like my takes for the tournament, and this was our first one of the year. More value.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna switch to Tivit and get more of a drawy type Tivit, and then just value everything I can.
Yeah, my deck was very focused on generating a bunch of mana as quickly as I could. And I very quickly saw that in tournaments, I would generate the mana and then I'd spend like 8 to Thrasios trigger and I'd get like a land tapped and then a card draw. And I'd be like, yep, I spent 8 mana to ramp a land.
Yeah.
So I'll still kind of push into the mana generation, but my big takeaways were value is definitely wins and loses games. Like a lot of the games just come down to who values out the hardest. And another one is Imposter Mech is good. Like I thought Bowmasters was kind of out of the meta, but then whenever we went to this tournament, I was like, nah, everybody's drawing a ton. Imposter Mech copying a Bowmaster, like a Bowmaster is going to come out pretty quickly. Being able to have a Bowmaster that's like, you can't kill this Bowmaster as a creature. Like it's an artifact. It's going to stay an artifact. You can destroy the artifact, but you can't ping me. So either there's 2 Bowmasters on the field and I trust you and we work together, or there's 1 Bowmaster on the field and it's only me. Like,
Well, I mean, the cool thing too is Imposter Mech isn't just a Bowmaster. He could also be a Grand Abolisher.
He could also be a devoted druid that doesn't care about toughness and just go infinite green, which is why he's going to go in my deck.
Oh yeah. I don't think you can choose your own creatures though.
There's a lot of devoted druids out there. Though.
True.
Yeah,
I was just saying. But all in all, like I learned a lot. I think that I'm going to switch off of Sisse just because Sisse ends up being big bad at a lot of tables, rightfully so. But um, I think I'd have more fun with Tivit. I think Tivit is coming back, and we'll see what happens. I may switch again, but
I was pretty bored with Timna Thrasios, honestly. Like, even though I made it my own, making it more enchantment based, it was just who could value the most. Like, it was nice. This is the first tournament I've had counter spells, and that was pretty nice. I've been working on Storm. I'd really like Storm to be better, but I don't think she's there. I think the 4 cost and needing to go to combat is a little too much for tournament. I think she's really fun as like if you're just like having fun with friends and wanting to play, I think she's really good. I'd be pretty nervous to bring her into a tournament, but the other thing about her is like, let's say I go to combat and I had an Eldritch Evolution in my hand. 2 of those go off, I win. So like I feel like she has the ability to really get wins out of nowhere, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be brave enough to try her in a next tournament. There's some things I need to work on before then, and Timothy Thrasios just seems so I'm not gonna say easy, but you sit down and you're like, I'm gonna generate value. And one of those values is I can go infinite mana pretty quickly, and the moment I get infinite mana with Thrasios, I pretty much win undoubtedly. Yeah.
yeah, I think Tivit Control is going to be really fun, and then just all of the cards that aren't control or win are going to be draw,
Yeah.
and that's just where I'm going to be at.
Yeah, my takeaway, my more realistic takeaway is I need to add more draw into Timna Thrasios, and I have a couple ideas. Like, I mean, clearly Fairy Mastermind and Ledger Shredder. There's a couple of other like cheeky draw creatures that I might put in. I gotta make sure that I don't go too far off the plan of infinite mana, because I mean, once I go infinite mana, I get infinite draw anyway. So
Well, I mean, realistically, with infinite mana Fairy Mastermind and a silence,
yeah.
they can't do anything, and you draw them out as long as they have.
Well, if I have the blue though, I'm just gonna go get Thrasios.
That's true too.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
that's the value of Thrasios is it's just being able to assemble infinite mana was a lot harder when basically like I would get the infinite mana combo, but I would look around and I'd be like, these guys all have counters. This is never going to go through. And like I was always a turn behind where I assembled the stuff that I normally assemble, but I knew that it wasn't going to resolve just how many cards all of the other people had was
mm,
kind of my problem. Like playing locally, like with our pods, I would be like, oh yeah, like I'm not worried about this. This is gonna resolve. I have a counter in my hand, but there were times where I'd look and I'd be like, this guy's got 12 cards in hand, and yeah, I have a counter to defend it, but like he has 2. So
yeah, I get that. I think I think we've kind of gotten stale with the in general commanders that we see constantly in our pod,
mhm.
and seeing other ones like again like Thrasios, Rogsai, and or Thrasios, Rog, and then Glarb was just kind of cool.
Yeah.
Blue, even Blue Farm, seeing it again. I don't think I'd rebuild it, but it was interesting that it's still performing pretty solid.
Yeah, I think really my answer is I need to get on spell table a little bit more and be like, okay, am I whipping butt on spell table? Cool. Well, now I can like enter a tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I mean, even like when we collabed with just dropping this collabed with Smooth Brain EDH, just seeing that play gone, I was like, oh wow, like I've never played against this. This is kind of scary.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah.
It's taken its spot over Shorkai
Yeah.
or at Azorius Commander.
Yeah.
That's just too strong.
Video on our link tree. Please let them know that we sent you. All right. Well, I think we're good on this podcast. We will see you guys next time.
See you guys.
Bye.